This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings, online at madeformoreliving.com.
All right, so in the last segment, we discussed, is a home a good investment? In this segment, we want to talk about mistakes people make before buying a home. Johnny Jennings, take it.
Absolutely. So there's a lot of factors to consider when buying a house, especially for the first time. And so there's a lot of things we've learned along the way from helping hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people through this process. But the number one mistake, or at least hurdle to home ownership, is that down payment. People think that they need 20%. That's not true. You can get as low as like 0% if you're VA, 1%, 3%. There's all these special loans out there, or no percent if you can get some government loans. But a lot of people, that's a stumbling block for them. And so if they don't qualify for those government loans, then they end up turning to retirement accounts. And they decide, hey, I'm going to pull this money out. Mind you, like worst case scenario, they're going to live in the house a couple of years. They're going to pull this money out of a retirement account, and they're going to sell the home, and that's just going to be a huge financial like devastation. Like it's not a good look. And so what we recommend is you speak to your financial advisor and get some different options on how do I come up with that down payment in a way that makes this a good financial investment for me? Like if I'm going to stay there 7, 10, 15 years, how do I end up better on the other side? Chad, what are you typically seeing when clients are doing this?
And once again, we're talking with Chad Francis. He's our special guest, financial advisor with Thrive Stewardship.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Matt. And it really, again, just kind of depends. And I know we've hit that point before, but it is all about where someone is in life. And so if they're looking to buy a home, hopefully they've been thinking about this for more than 5 minutes, and maybe they've been saving that down payment. Maybe they've been proactive in their goal. If they haven't, we tend to see people be more reactive. And they'll go to something like, hey, I've got a Roth IRA, I've got a retirement account, and it says I'm allowed to pull so much as a first-time home buyer, and I don't have to pay a penalty. That can be great. You just need to go in with eyes wide open and understand what the ramifications of that are.
So I've heard about people also pulling, like getting a loan from themselves, like using their 401k as a loan, and then with the intention of paying that back. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
And I struggle to use this word, but I hate that option.
Megaloth, you megaloth. That's what I say instead of hate.
But it sets you up for failure. When you borrow from your own retirement, you're going to pay that back. There's interest that's attached to that, and it sounds attractive, but you're paying the interest. You're moving money from your left pocket to your right pocket. You're not accomplishing anything. And when you're paying that money back over time, all you're doing is unplugging an investment. So if you borrowed $10,000 out, you're taking money out of a plan that's growing. If it takes you 20 years to pay that back, hopefully it doesn't, but that $10,000 could have become $100,000 in 20 years. And so you're really setting yourself back in retirement to accomplish a goal today.
So you're slowing the velocity of that investment.
100%.
Got it. So what would you recommend? Like, how do you, if somebody was like, hey, don't pull it out of the retirement account, what would you recommend they do to come up with that down?
I love it when people are just more proactive about their goals in general, but it all comes back to the budget. You're not taking on more home than you can afford as a percentage. Great. If we're staying within that same realm of percentages, you're saving, you're spending, you're giving, and within that, you can set aside some money from your savings. Maybe you push pause on retirement for a season to save up a good, healthy down payment so that you can attack that point of the plan and then come back and really focus on retirement once you're there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so homes on average nationally, like if you were in the Bay Area in the 70s, this doesn't pertain to you. If you were in San Diego in the 80s, obviously this doesn't pertain to you. But nationally, homes have appreciated somewhere around 4% year over year if you go back like 100 years.
Yeah.
So that you're seeing 4% growth on that money. But if you pull that money out of an investment account that's making how much? Like, what would you say?
It depends on how someone is invested, of course, but let's just take something very generic, the stock market average. You threw out 100 years for homes.
Yeah.
Go back 100 years in the stock market. Stock market's average north of 10%. And so if you're going to take something out that was going at a faster velocity, you're of course not going to have that same growth rate. But also if you're going to pull from retirement in general, yeah, you might expect to pay taxes on that if it's not a loan. And you might be in a high tax bracket too.
What are the taxes on a early withdrawal?
Sure. So it depends on what type of an account. Just take a generic retirement account, a 401k, an IRA. and it's taxable. At one point, you got a tax break on that. Now you're pulling that out. It's all taxable. It's going to be taxed at ordinary income. And if you're under age 60, you're going to get hit with penalties. And so you're talking about something like 30% in overall tax and penalties for the average person, average income. So if you need $100,000 out of that, you're going to say goodbye to at least $30,000.
Wow. So so if you need, let's say you're buying a $400,000 home, maybe that's like a good starter price here in our market. $400,000 home, you want 3% down. That is $12,000.
Yep.
So if you're going to pull that $12,000 out, it's going to cost you north of $15,000 to access the money out the gate. And 15, like counting the 12 for the down, and then you're slowing down that investment that's already growing on an average of 10%.
And that's the real big takeaway, is what you're slowing down. What's that opportunity cost that you're putting yourself and giving that exposure to? It could still be growing, or you could be taking that money out. You could be saving towards that goal, or you could be pulling it from another source.
And so you're money ahead to say, hey, tap the brakes. We're not gonna do the withdrawal. We're not gonna pay the penalties. We're gonna, instead of paying ourselves back in 5 years, let's just tap the brakes and put money away for 3 to 5 years, and we'll be money ahead if we can't qualify for some other program out there that helps us with the down.
Yeah, and it really depends on, again, what that number goal is for that person.
Yeah.
But if it's not something that's super large, maybe they can tackle that quicker. Maybe it's a 6-month goal. Maybe it's a 1-year goal to come up with just a few thousand to put down.
That's a really good point, because so many people, again, think they need like a kingly sum, a princely sum to put down on a home, and you do not need that. You absolutely do not need that. We work with the best lenders, and they have a whole plethora of plans, whole plethora of programs that provide you with the down. Like, for example, Valerie just closed on a home. I can't remember what city it was, but somewhere in the Sacramento region, and they were getting too much money back. They were getting too much money back that they had an extra $400. We're like, we can't give you the $400 because you're not paying for your down payment. You're not paying your closing costs. You didn't have to pay for any of the repairs. Like, there's an extra $400. There's a $400 credit here. We're just going to have to figure out what to do with this money. Maybe put it into the purchase price. But they were no money out of pocket to buy a home. So many people think the barrier is, hey, I need to come up with this down. I'm going to liquidate this account, or I'm going to take money out of this account. When really, you don't even need to go that route. Like, just talk to a good real estate agent. Good real estate agents know good lenders. Just like a good mechanic knows a good mechanic, a good doctor knows a good doctor. Good realtors know great lenders. And so that would be my suggestion. So what if somebody approaches you or is wondering, hey, what do I do about my retirement account? Like, how do you typically go about that process with them?
It's understanding what their goals are. And so in knowing someone that wants to retire in the next 10 years, pulling out of that to buy a home is probably not going to be the best plan. If someone is setting up at a younger age and they're buying their first home and they've barely started retirement, great. We might just say, let's push pause on this goal for now. Let's hit this goal hard, and then we'll come back and revisit this goal soon.
Yeah, I like that. Nothing's cookie cutter. Everybody's got different life situations. The kids are at different stages. Do they have kids? Are they married, not married? Like, what's their retirement look like? Do they have a retirement account? Like, you really do need a custom plan specific to you.
Yep. And everything in the moment feels like it's now. It's on fire. We've got to do it today, or it's going to expire. And in most circumstances, we just need to take a step back, breathe, and go, okay, today, that's great. Or tomorrow, or next week, or maybe it's next year's plan to buy a home. It doesn't have to necessarily be an always sprint race to the finish line, now or never.
Correct. Yeah, we'll put a plan together and we'll just work the plan, follow the plan. What do they say? You got to be smart enough to devise a plan and dumb enough to follow it. So, totally agree with you on the plan thing. Well, thank you so much, Chad, for giving your insight on that. The other thing that we were going to talk about, the people mistake, is the common mistake people make when buying a home is they're waiting for the market to crash. Like, they're thinking, hey, the prices are way too high. My mentor has a great story. His name's Brent Gove. And he tells this great story about in the early 90s, and home prices in Atomis were like $90,000. And people were like, oh my gosh, these home prices are way overpriced. You're going to lose money if you buy a house. Well, those homes are going for well more than $90,000 now. And so I haven't been in the career since the 90s, but I have clients from 2018 who are wishing they would have gotten in the market. But in 2018, they thought, hey, prices are too high. but they were planning on being here 7 to 10 years, right? And they wish they would have gotten in. So what's that other common phrase? Best time to plant a tree. What is it, Chad?
Best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the next best time is today.
Yeah. So you gotta plant that tree and at least begin the process. Planting the tree is not buying the home, but beginning the process of, hey, is this a good fit for me? If so, how do I accomplish this goal?
Yep. And
Right. I have a friend who has this goal of buying a home. She's not ready yet, but she at least took the first step in getting approved. So she knew where she was at. And just taking that first initial step is what it's all about. It's like planting that seed. You
Exactly. Yeah. So many people are like, they're scared about taking that first step because they think they're going to ding their credit. And,
Right.
And really,
and a lot of people think that getting pre-approved means you're locked in. And that is a huge fallacy that people just assume, oh, well, I've signed the contract, I'm pre-approved, I got to buy a home in 30 days or I'm in trouble.
I wish people thought like that. But the truth is, it's just a conversation. It's 5 minutes. You know, if you get to talking maybe 10 with the lender, they're not going to pull your credit. It's not going to, and even if they do, you can get your credit pulled up to 5 times in a 30-day period when shopping for a home. And it has almost no impact. Like, we're talking a couple points. It's not going to tank your credit. So just start a conversation, whether with a lender or with a realtor or with a financial advisor like Chad. Like, just begin the conversation because people are so scared about that first step. There's no need to be.
Yeah. It seems like the bottom line is making sure one of the biggest mistakes that people make before buying a home is not getting all the information that they need and rushing, feeling like they need to rush, but taking your time, not only getting advice from an experienced professional realtor, but also even your financial advisor who's going to give you some very balanced, unbiased advice on what is a good investment for your family.
Exactly. And so that's something that differentiates our team from other teams or other brokerages is that we have a whole suite of people that are there to help you. We have a financial advisor. We have a loan insurance. We have a loan provider. We have title. We have escrow. We have a whole suite of people that are here to help you in this process rather than just the one, realtor or maybe the lender. So you want to get a complete financial picture, talk to everybody in our vendor program, and they'll be able to paint that plan for you.
Awesome. Coming up, things you should do now that you've purchased your home. You're listening to Made for More with Johnny Jennings. You ever try to get your kids ready for church and oh my goodness, they're just dragging their feet? My 4-year-old is still in her pajamas and church starts in 15 minutes. Well, I have a friend. His name is Johnny Jennings. He's with the Tom Daves team and he knows the value of being fast. He recently helped George and Casey, who needed to sell their home in Folsom fast as they would be relocating out of state. He jumped on the phone, met with them, and in just a couple of days, the home was on the market. And guess what? They sold the home for above market value. And then the Tom Daves team was able to help them buy their next home out of state. And they would love to help your family as well. Are you curious what your home would sell for? Go to tomdaves.com, type in your address. Bam, right away, you find out what kind of offers you would get, the low and high end, and how much you would get if you wanted a cash offer today, no matter what kind of condition your home is in. The website, again, it's tomdaves.com, or you can call 855-TOM-DAVES. License number 581837.